Joaquin's golf swing into a few different parts here. The first one we're going to look at is this position here in the golf swing. And what I want to point out is just the positioning of this club face. You will notice that the club head, the driver head, is turned down towards the ground. Now, that means that it's in a relatively neutral or closed position relative for Joaquin's speed. So I can't stress this enough, but the more speed that you have, the more this driver head or club face would want to twist down in order for you to have an optimal ball flight. And then the opposite of that is true. If you were someone who was a little bit of a slower speed player, then we'd want the driver head grooves to be pointing up towards the sky a little bit, and that's just going to allow your ball flight to be a bit more optimal. The thing is that the more club head speed that you have, the less shaft lean that you're going to need in order for you to be able to have the optimal amount of spin. And whenever we have more club head speed, we're going to generate more spin. So we need to find elements in the golf swing that are going to allow us to not have too spinny of a ball flight, because that speed is increasing the amount of backspin that you have. As we take it up to the next checkpoint, you're going to notice a really nice position here in regards to where his hands are located. They have started to work around his body, and you'll start to see that that's coming from his rotation of his chest and the rotation of his hips, just so that those hands are in what we call a relatively deep position, just meaning that they are slightly behind him of what a baseline hand position would be. As we take Joaquin up to the very top of the backswing, you're going to notice this club face position here. I would say that that is maybe slightly towards the closed sides of things, but very close to a neutral sort of club face angle of what we're looking for Joaquin's speed. If we take a look at his wrist angles here as well, they are relatively neutral here. There is a little bit of extension in the right wrist, so just meaning that there is a slight angle in the right wrist, but then taking a look at that left wrist, we have a pretty neutral one there. So the more that this right wrist will get into this angle here, the more it creates this angle, the more the club face will start to close. So anytime we see the grooves up towards the sky, that means that the club face is closing, and then when we see it in this position here, if the club face or the driver face is pointing down towards the ground, we know that that's starting to open up. So it was always good to recognize what a baseline club face would be for you, for your speed. Now there are so many different factors that will play into what should be a good baseline club face angle for you. It depends on your speed, it depends on your preferred ball flight, depends on your wrist conditions, it depends on your forearm conditions as well. And so it is an important thing to recognize that not all people, not all golfers, especially at the high level as well, are going to have the same club face position. We most likely won't see massive extremes of either too open or too closed, but there are always going to be nuances in it. So as we start to bring Joaquin down into the downswing, we're going to stop him right here at this left arm parallel position. Something that I really like about this is just the way that this club shaft has started to work more horizontal. So the pitch of the shaft has started to work more in that direction there, and it has started to flatten out. Now this is due to mainly what it looks like from the camera angle is Joaquin's forearms have started to rotate this shaft in that direction. Think if you were holding onto a car steering wheel, in the downswing for Joaquin, he is turning the car steering wheel to the right. And what that's going to do is allow this club shaft to shallow. Taking a look at this club face position here too, again, the grooves are pointing up towards the sky, meaning that the club face is more towards a closed position, but it is still very close to neutral. As we continue Joaquin's swing all the way up to the club shaft being parallel to the ground, we're going to start to notice some things that will be typical of what you expect from Joaquin's golf swing. Now, I'm not saying this is bad. This works for Joaquin, and he's an absolute ball striker, and he's an absolute stud. But I just want to clarify that if we get an amateur into this position here, the chances that they're going to be able to rotate their hips and their chest open enough in order to be able to create some lean to the shaft or have a passive release, the chances are going to be very slim. So you can even try this at home. What I want you to try to do is get into this right crunch position that Joaquin has got. So he's trying to get, well, he's not trying to get it, this is just what's happening, is that his right shoulder is getting really close to his right hip, and we start to see this big crunching on the right oblique or right rib cage. What I want you to try to do is get into that position similar to Joaquin, and then try to rotate your body open. You're going to find it is very, very difficult to achieve this position. But because Joaquin is an athlete, and he is obviously very flexible and mobile, he's able to swing his driver at this club head speed and rotate his body even with the amount of bending to his right side that he has. And so you need to take into consideration whether or not this would work for you. I would highly recommend you don't even try to get into this position, because you would start to see some back issues, possibly, if you don't have enough strength in that position. And so just trying to look at one piece of a professional's golf swing and trying to replicate it, in my opinion, is not the way you need to go. You need to work on the things that are going to work for your golf swing and your body type. So as we take Joaquin into the impact position, you're going to start to see that crunch get even bigger. So we start to see this sort of look here, and that's going to create this shoulder plane that is very vertical as he comes to hit the golf ball. But again, look at where his hips are. They have opened up quite clearly down towards the target, and he's able to get his hands forward into a position that's going to create the optimal amount of spin for Joaquin, so he can optimize how far he hits his golf ball. And let's continue his golf swing all the way through to the finish, and just admire how different Joaquin swings it to a lot of golfers, but still how flush he is. And I think you may need to question your beliefs if you think that Joaquin has a bad golf swing.